So one of the things that our children are going to talk about today are the indigenous people and their creation stories, and how Monday is an important day to recognize the indigenous people history and the roots that they have in our land and in the beauty of our earth. And so I have two creation stories for you. One is a Hawaiian creation story, and one is a creation story from Genesis. And so the first one is from Hawaii. This story comes from Hawaii. It was part of the Kumulipo, a chant recounting both the origin of the world and the genealogy of Hawaii's reigning family. The Kumulipo is a work of poetry with many shades of meaning and plays on words, and it also contains many subtle parables and parodies of rivals of the royal family. It is difficult to render the native Hawaiian wordplay and rhyme into English prose, and while this version tries to maintain some of the juxtaposition of organisms with similar names, it can do so only in a limited way. In each section of the story, shades of darkness, each of which have their own names in Hawaiian, progress toward daylight and give birth to the life of the world. So imagine a day where dawn is just breaking. When the earth first came hot and the heavens churned and the sun was dark, land emerged from the slime of the sea, the deepest, darkest of caverns, a male in the moonless darkness of night, a female gave birth to the simple life forms of the sea. The coral that builds islands was born, and the grub, the sea cucumber, the sea urchin, the barnacle, the mussel, the limpet, and cowrie, and the conch, and other shellfish. Born was the seagrass, guarded by the tough landgrass on land. Born was the manua, moss of the sea, matched by the manua taro plant on land. Born was kele, seaweed, and ikio, plant of the land. Next, the deep darkness of the sea, darkness broke by slivers of light in the moonlight forest, gave birth to the fish of the sea. The porpoise was born, and the shark, and the goatfish, and the eel, and the octopus, and the stingray, and the bonito, and the albacore, and the mackerel, and mullet, and the sturgeon. Born was the kalua eel of sea, matched by the kalua tree on land. Born was the kapopo, fish of the sea, and the cow tree on land. Born was the awa, fish of the sea, guarded by the awa, plant of the land. Trains of walruses and schools of fish swam past the coral ridges, still in the darkness of night. Next, darkness of night, and night that just barely breaks into dawn, gave birth into the flying creatures. The caterpillar was born, and the moth to which it leads. The ant was born, and the dragonfly that it becomes. The grub was born, and the grasshopper that it becomes. The snipe was born, and the turnstone, and the mudhen, and the crow, and the rail, and the albatross, and the curlew, and the stilt, and the heron. Born was the sea duck of the islands, and the wild duck that lives on land. Born was hihi bird of the sea, matched by the nini goose on land. Next, as the sea advanced onto the land and passed back and forth across it, the light of the earliest dawn in half darkness produced the crawling creatures that come from the sea. The rough-backed turtle was born, and the horn-billed turtle, and the dark red turtle. The lobster and gecko were born, and the mud-dwelling creatures that leave their tracks on the sand. Born was the wili sea boar of the sea, and the wilwil tree on the land. Born was the opopo jellyfish of the sea, and the ohohiho bamboo of the land. Thus the crawling animals were born in the night, and creeping and crawling onto the land. Next were born the animals of the land, including the dog and the rat and the cat. Then in the stillness, as the light of dawn came across the land, were born Laela, a woman, and Kai, a man, and Cain, a god, and Kanalua, the octopus. From the union of Laela and Kai and Cain came humanity. Waves of people came from afar. Born was Hahapoel, a girl, and Hapopo, another girl, in the upland valleys whence chiefs arose. Born were humans spreading across the earth. And now it was day. All of that in that short space of time. Another creation story, book of Genesis, chapter 1, and this is the children's version. This is not the adults' version that goes on for many, many pages. In the beginning, there was no earth or sky or sea or animals, and then God spoke in the darkness, "Let there be light." And right away there was light, scattering the darkness and showing the infinite space. "That's good," said God. "From now on, when it's dark, it will be night, and when it's light, it will be day." The evening came and the night passed, and then the light returned, and that was the first day. On the second day, God made the earth, and over it he carefully hung a vast blue sky. He stood back and admired his creation. "That's good too," said God on the second day, and the second day was over. Boy, if I could only do just one little thing like that, that'd be lovely in one day. The next morning, God looked around and thought, the earth needs to be a bit more organized. So he put all the water in one place and all the dry land in one place. And when he finished that, God made plants to cover the land. Dandelions and daffodils appeared. All sorts of trees and grasses began to grow. "It's looking great," said God. And that was the end of the third day. On the fourth day, God looked around and thought, the daylight still needs a little bit more work, and the night is just too dark. So he made the sun to light during the day, and the moon and the stars to add a bit of sparkle at night. He hung them in the sky and stepped back to look at his work. "This is coming along very well," said God. The next day, God turned his attention to the water he had collected in the oceans. "I want these waters teeming with life." And as soon as he said it, it was so. In no time, there were millions of small fish darting around in the shallow water and huge fish swimming in the ocean. God made birds too. She sent them soaring through the air. "Ah, that is good," said God. The dusk fell over the water and the sky grew dark, and that was the end of the fifth day. On the sixth day, God added creatures to the land. She made lions and tigers and bears. He made rabbits and sheep and cows. They added everything from ants to zebras to the land. But she still felt something was missing. So God added mankind to enjoy and take care of all that they had created. God looked around and was happy with all she made. And after 6 days, the whole universe was completed. And on the seventh day, God had a nice long rest and enjoyed looking at all that was made. And those are our stories.